Hello, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Cheslock StoryTime. It is Wednesday night, around 7:32 p.m. I am climbing the steps in the third floor of my ex-wife's house while my daughter, our daughter, does her math homework on the first floor, and I bring to you a brilliant short story by a very good friend, Jesse Draham. He is a local Philadelphia comedian and a local Philadelphia dad to what seems like a baby still, I believe, based on the timeline that I know of. And he's a local Philadelphia husband to a lovely wife that I've never met. And he also is a brilliant short story writer. He has an entire character arc and a complete, perfect, tight little story that's going to sting you, and then at the end, it's going to give you some serious sweet. And I don't want to push you in any certain direction in terms of how you're going to experience this. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Without any further ado, I bring you Jackson Run by Jesse Draham. Jackson is my best friend. He's always been my best friend. I don't remember much before Jackson. When the folks got me from the loud place, Jackson was here waiting for me. He didn't like me in his place at first, which is totally understandable. It was his. It smelled like him. Ergo, it was his. It was him, essentially. But he got used to me, and we had so much fun. I'm smaller, so he could run faster, but I could zip and dive between his legs, nipping at his belly. He hated that, but it was okay, because we were friends. The folks had little folks, too, and they loved running around with us, playing with us, throwing things for us, occasionally yelling at us, but that was fine. Times were good. The little folks became big folks, and their big folks became old folks. But it was still just me and Jackson. Then, Jackson didn't feel like running one day. I nudged him. Dude, come on, let's go. Let's run. He growled, and he snapped at me. Jackson had never done that to me before. Okay, I guess he did. I forget easily. But never growled and snapped like that. I slunk to my corner and curled up for the day. The folks noticed and took Jackson to the clean place. They'd taken me there a few times, and I didn't like it. It smelled like other dogs too, but not like the house smelled like us, you know? It smelled like more dogs than I'd ever met, but it somehow didn't belong to any of them. The place wasn't claimed. It was more a pile of smells. A lot of them scared. The place didn't become them, if it became anything. It was the sick chemical smell that clung to the walls the way wrapping clings to our toys before they cut out and given to us. But this wrapping wouldn't come off. It stuck to our fur after we'd been poked or jabbed or fell asleep and woke up hurting there. I hate the clean place. And now Jackson came back smelling like it. He was tired, wanted to run, even less. I tried yelling at him a bit, nipping him. Tough love. Come on, jerk, let's run. The folks seemed weird. They kept rubbing Jackson's head and crying. He just needs to run, guys. Make him run. He'll be fine. Some days, he could run again. Then he'd sleep for the rest of the day. I ran between his legs again, but wouldn't nip his belly. He hated that. He hadn't run in days, and the folks picked him up one day. They didn't even leash him, just picked him up. The old folks and the big, once little folks picked him up together and put him in their car. Ugh, not the clean place again. They came home without him? I looked around for days, but could only find the old smells. That damned clean place was somewhere. I'd been there plenty of times, but the smell never lasted long once we got home. Now there was a stink somewhere, and I couldn't figure it out. A little vase thing they brought back seemed to be the location. It stunk, like the chemicals, like fire, but something slightly familiar. Where did Jackson go? He's never going to get better if he doesn't run. The folks were so quiet and sad. The little big folks who used to be little went back to where they live and weren't around. I ran every day, but it wasn't the same. It went on like that. The clean place smell faded. Jackson's smell faded. I hope he comes back one day and the house becomes him again. He's going to be mad that my smell is all over his things. The old folks weren't even in the house, and I smelled it. The loud place! And a new stink, scared but happy. I was there waiting for them. They brought a new guy, Cooper. He's bigger than me. I didn't like him in my place at first, which is totally understandable. It was my place. It smelled like me. Ergo, it was mine. The house was me, essentially. But I got used to him. We had so much fun. I'm smaller, so he could run faster, but I could zip and dive between his legs, nipping at his belly. He hated that. But it was okay because we were friends. Cooper is my best friend. He's always been my best friend. He's the only friend I've ever had. I don't remember much before Cooper. Wow. Jesse, it says here in the comments at the very end of your own story that a comedian threatens to become a writer. He half-asses it. Come on, dude. Bull flappin' honky. You did not half-ass that. You put your whole ass into this thing. And if you only put half your ass into this thing, I'd love to see what you can do if you put your whole ass into writing. You are one heck of a writer. Beginning, end, tight, pain, pleasure, sour, sweet. Very good. I cannot wait to have a jam session with you later. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear this later, which is actually your present, but my past. This is not an episode of Black Mirror. This is not all about metaphysics, man. This is not all about merging timelines, I promise. It's just that I had a long day working with patients, but I love doing this. I love reading stories. So if you're listening to this, please send me your short stories. I am imploring you. Can't wait to jam out with Jesse about his story over the phone. Guys, hang tight, and I love you. All right? All right. All right? All right! Okay, hello, it's later, and let's have a little jam session with old Jesse Draham. Hey there, buddy. You ready to have our old chatteroo? Okay, now have an old chat. Question mark? Okay. Let's get the guy on the phone then. Jesse Draham, calling him. Doing it live.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Jesse. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm well. I'm doing my weekly Wednesday night drive home to Philadelphia, back to good old Roxborough, back to the good old 19128. You live in zip code 19128, yes?
That's right. I'm in the Wissahickon.
Oh, yeah, the Wissahickon, man. The most beautiful place in the world. I don't know how you feel about the area, but
I love it. I love it. I love living here.
Listen, when I was a little kid, I grew up in Florida. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to live in a house on a hill where it snowed.
Yes.
Now I live on Hill Road, man. I didn't know that that's what I was, like, working towards.
Uh-huh.
You know, and when I was in Florida, I was like, I never thought that I could actually do that. I didn't know that you could, like, up and make your life whatever the heck you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
But my grandma lived in Ohio, in a little wide spot in the road called Bannock, Ohio, right on the West Virginia-Ohio border. Kind of, I don't know if you know anything about that area, but like.
No, I don't know much about Ohio. The only thing I know about Ohio is about 15 years ago, me and some friends all went on a road trip to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and we almost crashed our car hitting a dead deer in the middle of the road in Akron, Ohio.
Akron, Ohio. Yeah. So this is a funny story. When I was a little kid growing up, visit my grandma in Bannock, Ohio, and there was a tractor tire somewhere, and we looked in the tractor tire, and there was a dead deer. There was like a deer head in there. Obviously, it was just the head. The deer was no longer, in this mortal coil.
No longer amongst the living.
Correct. And one time we were on like a road trip, either going away from or towards my grandma's house, my dad's mom. And my dad's job was to drive the car, and my mom's job was to like fire. It was to like fire like direction orders at my father, and she was like, Tony, you should have turned there to go into Akron. And he's like, Akron? I didn't know we were going to fucking Akron. And then one time he was like, I was supposed to be looking. Alice, you're supposed to be telling me where to go. Anyway. So, that was a full circle, that was full circle commentary, Jesse.
What was that?
I said that was full circle because you mentioned Akron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, all family drama aside, I want to talk to you about this short story that I've already recorded it. I had so much fun recording it. It is such a sweet story, and it starts sweet, and then it kind of stings you really right and proper in the middle, and it hurt. Like, it was like clinical. Like, I could smell the clean place, and at the end, like, you left me with such a sweet taste in my mouth with this story. It was perfect. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write this story.
Well, the truth is, pretty much every story, song, or joke I've ever written has been about death. It is the thing I am endlessly fascinated and curious about. So what actually happened was we were visiting my wife's friend's parents' house, and we were actually married in their backyard in 2021. It was a COVID wedding, and they had these two dogs. The two dogs had also been at my wedding, and one was a bigger dog named Jackson, and the other was a small, I don't remember the name of the smaller dog, but they found out that Jackson wasn't feeling well. And if you've ever seen when there's like two dogs and one's not feeling well, actually a lot of the times they kind of have to be separated, because there's a little thing with like the pack mentality. Like, when they notice one of them gets weaker, the other one tends to get like a little aggressive with them. Okay. And they were kind of dealing with that, and I found myself in a headspace that just like, oh yeah, well, their dog is sick and dying, and just really thinking of how the smaller dog who has been with this other dog his entire life, and just like how he is going to process that. Obviously, as humans, we process, some of us grieve people who die for the rest of our lives, and that's just not the way dogs are built. It's kind of like a blessing and a curse. They're like eternal children. Right. So yeah, I for whatever reason, I was really touched by this scenario, and that I just went home and I knocked this all out in one sitting. Ooh. And I haven't read it in a while. I actually went back and read it for this, and man, dude, it's actually very coincidental you and I are talking about this right now, because literally just this morning we got the sad news that my wife's grandfather had passed away.
Sorry. Oh man, that's a blow.
Yeah, he'd been sick for a little bit, but it all happened very quickly. And so a lot of this death stuff has been on my mind. I mean, obviously my wife and my mother-in-law, but really the thing is, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and she loves her great-grandfather, calls him Peepop Irv, is always asking to see pictures of him. And so like the last week, I've been like preparing her for like the best you can for like a small toddler. So it's almost a little bit like that, like with the dogs. Like they have the benefit of not really understanding, and they're also going to have the benefit of not really remembering, as sad as some of that is. Right,
like a dog doesn't suffer long because their brain has no limbic system, I guess, or no, we don't bloody well understand human brains, man. Like we do not have a map of the human brain yet, man. That the Obama administration started a federal project called the Human Brain Mapping Project, and this will come as zero surprise to you, but the following administration, which is someone that who shall not be named.
We don't need to know brains. I know brains. I'll tell you all you need to know about brains.
Mothballed the Human Brain Mapping Project. Now, Obama...
Biggest brain. That's why my head's so big. It's true. It's got big brain underneath.
Good Lord. He was afraid of the Brain Mapping Project. I think I don't know that he is mindful enough to actually know that he's afraid of it, but There is. You can look it up. Obama, I believe, still funnels money into the Human Brain Mapping Project, but obviously it doesn't have as much juice. God damn you, fucking slag ass piece of shit. I will not have him hijack my episode. Son of a gun.
He will not. Yeah, he will not divide us, Tony.
No,
he will
bro.
not.
No, brother. Kind of trying to come together and talk about this sweet little story. Yeah, so your daughter?
Daughter, yeah.
Yeah, you're a daughtersman. Yeah, me too. Mine's 11, and fortunately, to this point, although I don't know how fortunate it is, because when it happens for her, when a family member, although she has lost a dog, she lost a dog named Ollie some time ago, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. And Ollie was the dog of her other mom, Sarah, my ex-wife. Got married, and that mom had a dog named Ollie that came with her. It was aged, and just really took to Chloe and adopted Chloe, and would like sit with Chloe when Chloe was sick, and Chloe kind of was raised by Ollie to some degree, and like to this day, you know, I can tell that it smarts her, and they've gotten another dog, which is Ollie was a rescue, and this other dog is a rescue too, but this other dog I think had a little bit of trauma, and so it's not as easily, it's not nearly as sweet. But like that dog is warming up. But preparing your 2.5-year-old for a death in the family, and what a blessing that they got to know their great grandfather. I didn't know my great grandfather.
Yeah, dude, both of my grandfathers were dead before I was even born.
Really?
So, and on top of that, it also had to be great for him too, because she was like she went through a little period where she was scared of him, just because he's
old.
He's old. Yeah, exactly.
Scary looking. Wrinkly he's like extra wrinkly because he's a great grandfather.
Yeah, but now she warmed up to him, and dude, the best thing of all is so very quickly he was living with my mother-in-law for about a year. A few weeks ago, they noticed his skin was turning yellow. Yeah. Turned out he had a bile duct that was obstructed, and it was obstructed by pancreatic cancer, unfortunately. Yeah. So they moved him into the hospital. Yeah. He started declining very quickly. On Sunday, the whole family went in and visited him, and dude, this guy's final going away party, if you saw it in a movie, you would say it was too fake.
Fire.
Because he was all there mentally. He said a few times, like, just give me a pill, let me be done with this. And not even in, like, an I'm in agony way. He was just like, I'm done, let me go.
Yeah.
But he was chatting with everybody. He got to see my daughter. He was telling old stories. Dude, this guy, 2 days before his actual death, you know what he did in front of all of his loved ones? He fucking sang Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way.
Oh, this guy! I love this guy! Oh my goodness! You know what this makes me think, Jesse? It makes me think you need to write this down as a sketch, what is it called when you write a story that's supposed to be made into a movie? It's called a blah. It's called a blah blah blah. Whatever that thing is called that my brain can't come up with right now.
I don't know what it is either.
You need to film it, because I want to see this. I can see it in my head, and like, oh my word, what a wonderful thing. That dude, right on. And you know what? You know what's cool about that? You just told that story to me, and now it's going to live inside my head, and guess what? This dude actually, in a metaphysical sense, isn't dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude,
Go ahead.
I even said to him, I said, like, Irv, his name was Irvin. Such an old-fashioned name, too. Yeah. Irvin. I love it. I just told him, like, dude, you are setting a high bar on a classy death right now. And it's funny, because I was just talking to my mother-in-law.
What a wonderful
And the hilariousness is, he was always obsessed with movies. As a matter of fact, again, he was 92 years old. He had a very good run. He kept his mind sharp by, like, just writing down movie notes and shit. Like, I remember walking into their house a few months ago, and there's just a piece of paper on his desk, and it's literally just, like, from memory, he was going down all of Elizabeth Taylor's 7 husbands that she had.
What a random list. I love that.
Yeah, he's a gnarly old man. But, dude, the great thing is, and I said this to my mother-in-law today, is his favorite actor was James Dean.
Yeah.
And, dude, he went out like James Dean. He went out like Mr. Cool. We took one last group photo with him, and he looked at the camera and he said, "Here's looking at you, kid."
Dude, y'all ain't never gonna forget that.
Never.
So we should
Never.
live. We should live as this man died.
Yeah, ready to go, no fear, and he got that last send off that almost nobody gets.
Honestly, if you can do that, if this man can pull that off, then what the hell are we all so afraid of?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, worst thing that's gonna happen is our bones are gonna break, or we're gonna bleed out, or whatever. But like, guess what? Like, as far as I can tell, right before you go, your body starts releasing some like really trippy ass stuff. That's what I'm told. Like, I work in home care, but we also have a division that does hospice care. And I've been in the room when they don't say dying, they say transitioning.
Right.
I've been in the room, and the hospice nurse is talking the family through, this is what they're experiencing, and this is very much like, you know, a hallucinogenic experience for them. And like, I've watched somebody go, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to expedite the process for myself, obviously, because I got a lot to do down here, right? I got a lot of work left, but it seems like it ain't that bad of a ride once you get, you know, to the final steps. I mean, I probably, depending upon the condition, there's probably a lot of pain, but I've been doing a lot of like mindfulness training and listening a lot about like being in the now, and like how if you're actually in the now, you don't feel pain. And that's not what the meaning of this little conversation is. Although I like taking this conversation wherever I want, man. And you and I, we're going on a hell of a ride right now, man. I really appreciate that. But I want to go back several steps where you said your daughter was afraid of her great grandfather, right? A little bit afraid. Right. I remember the first time I saw my grandmother in the kitchen in the middle of the night without her teeth in. I was like 3 years old, and it was my it was my mom's mom. I saw her in the kitchen without her teeth in. And I was like,
You know what's funny? I don't think I ever saw my grandmother without her teeth in, but I saw her teeth when she wasn't around.
oh!
Those old ladies, you know what they do? They love to put their teeth in a glass, and they put the glass in the fridge.
What the fuck? Does that make sense? They like it to be cold?
Yeah, it's refreshing, I guess. I don't know.
It's refreshing. Gotta be. And it's like, woo! Put it in, it's a little zing. On your
little zing, a little dip that you going on your day.
Yeah, right. Well, some of them you gotta wonder, like, are they curing it in like Everclear?
Yeah.
It gets through the gums faster, you know what I mean? Like, it gets to your it gets to your sublingual arteries. It goes right to your heart, and you get drunk faster. Kind of like when you're having chest pain from angina pectoris. They give you the nitroglycerin tabs under your tongue because it goes to your heart right away.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I didn't know that was specifically how they work, but yeah, I was aware.
So sublingually, under the tongue, under lingual tongue, lingua, language, lingua, sublingual, nitrous oxide is a vasodilator. So when you got angina pectoris, they give you a nitrous tab, and they say put it under your tongue, and it vasodilates your heart. It goes directly to your heart. So here's a tip from a Florida kid to you. When it's really hot outside, put cold water directly under your tongue and keep like swishing it around. It'll cool your body, because that cool water, if you put it under your tongue, under your armpits, or in your groin, that cool energy will go right into your circulation much faster. But sublingually, it'll go right into you. And when you're in college, if you take the acid and put it under your tongue, on your tongue, it gets to you faster too.
Okay. So it's so interesting how the body has like weird shortcuts like that.
Yep.
Like, so I'm somebody that suffered from a lot of anxiety and panic attacks.
Talk about it.
I can talk about that now just because, like, I've really managed to get it under control the last few years, got over some major phobias. But, dude, particularly with, like, doing comedy, I've only recently really come to terms with, like, I lost a huge chunk of my potential in my 20s and 30s due to fucking anxiety.
That's okay.
But where I was going with that is one of the tricks with anxiety that, if you look into it, is a quick go-to that can like help prevent any panic attack is if you just like plant your tongue up against the roof of your mouth and just focus on that shit just goes away. Like it's almost like the version of like breathing into a paper bag. Just something about it, like it touches a nerve that just literally calms you down, opens your throat a little bit. One of my big triggers was always feeling like I couldn't breathe. And if you had the discipline to like really do that and really focus, it would like pull you back from the brink.
Well, I'm here to tell you that I likely have ADHD. I have horrible, likely OCD. My anxiety is oftentimes like far and wide, and I'll get to the spinning like you won't believe. Like it. Some people are like, I can't believe you have anxiety. You don't seem like it. Like you're not looking hard enough if you think that of me. Anyway. All that is to say.
I've had a lot of people say that they think I'm like intimidating because they'll see me and usually I'll be like pacing. I'll have my arms folded. It's like, nah, dude, I'm uncomfortable and I'm fucking anxious all the time. That's what it is.
Well, what you're saying about putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth, when you put your tongue to your hard palate like that, that's actually a method of a meditation method in like Taoist meditation. You take your tongue and you put it to the roof of your mouth, and you breathe in through your nose and purse lips out through your mouth. One of my martial art instructors years ago during a training that I used to do with a southern style of martial art called Wing Chun, my Sifu would have us do, at the end of class when we were doing our cool down, we would do Taoist meditation, and he would always have us put our tongue to the roof of our mouth. So how about that? There's some more circular commentary, sir. Oh, what do you think? Pretty neat, right? So we're all talking about the same thing, but from a different vantage point. I like to say we're all trying to get to Disney World, but there's more than one way to get there, although Disney World's expensive and it's kind of a hellhole. So Disney World could be a proxy for like wherever you want to be.
Sorry, you're a Florida boy, man. I'm doing everything to stay away from Florida as much as I can.
Well, I don't blame you. And I like to say that like Florida's like Jurassic Park, and the animals down there are like, yeah, humans, don't be here. This is not for you. This is for us. But if I could crank it back to this story a little bit. It's like punk. Your story is like punk rock. It's like 3 chords and the truth.
Yeah, it really was simple. So the reason I haven't done more writing in the story form is it really does kind of become paralysis by analysis. There's just so many. Dude, I've had an idea for a novel I've been kicking around for fucking years that just like I don't have the discipline and I can't really put it together. And the only reason this really came together is because I had a simple idea and I got it all done in one shot. I didn't agonize over it. And it also helped. I was coming from a deliberately simple point of view, that being, dogs. And I really knew I wanted it to be cyclical because the emotional reaction I was having was like, this poor creature doesn't know it's going to lose its best friend, and then like as life moves on, it's going to forget that person ever existed, which, again, a blessing and a curse. Like
all blessings, all blessings are a little cursed. That's why I have a word for that. It's called blurst.
It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
Exactly, dude. Do you have any more? Do you have any other short stories that you've completed?
Mostly just like little rants. I've had an idea for a short story for a while, and I might never finish it. So how about I just give you the whole idea, and maybe it'll just live on this podcast.
Okay.
I had an idea for a story about a competitive eater, and go figure. This one also involves death, which is basically a competitive eater chokes to death at a competition, and then he's reincarnated. But what he finds out is that in order to become human again, he has to be reincarnated into every animal he ever devoured in his life as atonement.
Ooh.
And the agonizing end is going to be an oyster eating contest he was at. So as you can imagine, oysters tend to be eaten alive. So just the nightmarish image of you devouring yourself over and over and over and over again.
Wow, dude.
That's all I...
Go ahead. That's all you've got. That's all you need, man. You have a whole story right there. All you need to do is fill in the blanks, honestly. All you need to do is Mad Libs that shit.
Yeah, so, you know what's really funny? So I'm between jobs right now, so I've actually been driving Lyft. And the other day, I drove to the airport, this guy who's a literary professor at Temple.
Uh-huh.
And he and I talked about literature and David Foster Wallace and Kurt Vonnegut. Uh-huh. And he really, because I mentioned, I've tried to write exactly what I said. I have trouble with the discipline. And he really did give me, a lot of motivation of, dude, just, fucking do it. And honestly,
I'm going to tell you right now, Jesse, you should just do it. You are talented. The story that I wrote, or the story that I read was beautifully written.
Thanks, Rod.
And I mean that, and I'm not trying to make you feel weird. You know what I mean? I'm in a phase of my life where I'm trying to be, hyper honest. Not to the cutting degree, but to be, as in the moment as possible and celebrate people's, art and beauty for what it is. And, I'm complimenting people on the way they... Because I'm seriously, on a personal level, kind of fucking done by being weighed down by all the bullshit that keeps coming out. Because bullshit will always keep coming out. So I want to lean into, the beauty. And so that there is to say, man, you're a great writer. And I will tell you that I've been writing a lot lately. More often, I have a number of short stories. Part of the iteration for this version of my podcast, it's sometimes me just talking to comics or whomever and BSing like we're doing now, but the adding of the reading of the stories is because I have a number of short stories that I've written that are completed, and that's all I can ever do is short stories. And I think it works for our culture right now, bite-sized things like this are really important, and really, I think people would eat it up. No one's really, not a whole lot of people are paying attention to my podcast, so don't go thinking you're going to get famous off this episode, buddy.
I mean, you know what's hilarious? I told you I had to go back and reread it just to freshen my mind. And even just because it was on Medium, the first thing I see at the top, it said 4-minute read. I'm like, oh, thank God. And this is my own fucking work. I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to devote a lot of time to this.
I know, it's a little bit sad, but you know what? Also, why don't we just lean into it and say, hey, it's beauty in 4 minutes? Why is that so bad? We are all screwballs to the wall overwhelmed right now, correct?
Agreed. 100%.
So then why not just be thankful that you can have something beautiful in 4 minutes? That's nothing bad. There's all this oh, it's got to go longer. It's got to be more. Well, why? What if it's good in 4 minutes? You get...
Well, honestly, you know what the trickier thing is for me is that it almost feels hypocritical for me because when it comes to art I consume, I like longer stuff. Okay. I like dude, my favorite band is the prog metal band Dream Theater. They have a 20-minute song on every album. I cannot stand... I had a long conversation with comedian Jeff Roser's girlfriend, Kate, on just I hate TikTok, and she's like, no, you just don't have your algorithm queued up right. And then she showed me a bunch of good stuff on TikTok. No, you don't understand. I hate the fucking format. I don't like how shallow it is. If you can give me something like a dark chocolate that's going to be dense and rich and short, I'm fine with that. But don't feed me French fries and tell me to act like it's a meal. And I feel like that's a lot.
That's probably true.
And I feel like that's a lot of bite-sized content these days.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So it's my own hypocrisy. I want to write a magnum opus, but I myself am probably ADD, so instead I farted out a story about dogs in a half hour.
Well, dude, nothing wrong with 3 chords in the truth, man. There ain't nothing wrong with
That's right.
in the truth, brother. I can't remember who said that, but I keep saying, like, there ain't nothing wrong with 3 chords in the truth, because I started out a punk rock kid, and I'm still, well, I ain't a kid no more, but you understand. Hey, man, listen, this has been sweet. I just pulled into port. I gotta get running. Do me a favor.
Right.
Do me a favor and send me a headshot and a link to anything else that you want me to promote and anything else you want people to know about you. And I thank you for coming on and talking to me. Thank you for sending
Absolutely, man. This was great.
This was so much fun. And, like, finish that competitive eater story, because I want to read it, and then I'm going to read it aloud and record it. And it's going to be great. And much love to you, brother, and take care of that family. I'll see you on the pitch, brother.
Yeah, dude, sincerely, thank you for the kind words. Just because, like, I love being creative, but if I'm being very honest, the bulk of all my artistic endeavors has involved feeling very, very underappreciated. So it actually means a lot to me when somebody says, I really like what you're doing.
I like what you're doing, brother. Keep doing what you're doing and do more of it. How about that?
Hell yeah, Tony.
All right, bud. I'll see you around now, all right?
All right, buddy.
Have a good night. Yeah, bye. Folks, that was Jesse Draham. Dude, solid dude. Thank you so much for listening. And, some weird noises at the end of the night. It's been a long day, been a productive day. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great night and great day and whatever. And keep moving, keep breathing, drink your water, get some sleep, because tomorrow the demons are coming for all of us. All right, bye-bye now.